Basketball legend stepped into luxury motors. Her hoodie pulled up slightly as she wandered past rows of gleaming luxury cars. The bright showroom lights reflected off the polished surfaces, but the real tension came from the quiet murmurs around her. Employees exchanged glances, their voices hushed. "She's gonna get thrown out," one of them whispered. Elena, the dealership manager, strode toward basketball legend with sharp, clicking heels. Her blazer was pristine, her clipboard tucked under one arm. Without hesitation, she stepped directly into basketball legend's path, blocking her from moving further. "Let's be honest, people like you don't belong here. I'm saving you the embarrassment." Basketball legend paused, raising an eyebrow as she studied Elena's expression. A slow, knowing smile tugged at the corner of her lips. "People like me?" Elena exhaled, crossing her arms. "I'm just trying to help. Maybe I can direct you to a dealership that fits your situation." The tension thickened. Employees nearby averted their eyes, pretending to be busy. Basketball legend remained unfazed, her gaze locked onto Elena's. Then, without a word, she reached into her hoodie pocket, pulled out her phone, and pressed a contact. Lifting it to her ear, she spoke calmly.
Oh,
"It's me. Tell the team their new owner is waiting." Elena's expression shifted. Her confidence faltered, the certainty in her voice replaced by confusion. Who are you calling?" Basketball legend slipped the phone back into her pocket, her smile lingering. "Shouldn't take long." Basketball legend stepped into the cool air of luxury motors, her hoodie and sneakers drawing no particular attention at first. Rows of gleaming cars stretched before her, their polished surfaces reflecting the bright showroom lights. Near the front desk, two employees whispered to each other, their voices low but carrying enough to reach basketball legend's ears. "Elena just kicked out another window shopper. Sixth one this week," one of them murmured. The other let out a quiet chuckle. "She's ruthless. Wonder how the new owner's gonna handle her." Basketball legend paused mid-step, her lips curving slightly at the corners. She spoke just loud enough for herself to hear. "We're about to find out." She wandered further into the showroom, letting her fingers hover near the sleek silver coupe that caught her eye. Its glossy finish mirrored her casual outfit, a sharp contrast to the polished professionalism of the dealership. The whispers at the desk died down as the employees exchanged uneasy glances, their focus now shifting to basketball legend. She didn't miss the quick flicks of their eyes or the way their hushed tones shifted into full silence. From across the room, the sharp click of heels echoed against the tile floor. Basketball legend turned her gaze toward the approaching figure, Elena, who carried herself with a sharp precision that demanded attention. Her tailored blazer was immaculate, and the clipboard in her hand added an air of authority. "Can I help you?" Elena asked, her tone polite but laced with skepticism. Basketball legend turned to face her fully, offering a faint smile. "Just looking around," she said casually. Elena's gaze swept over basketball legend from head to toe, her polite mask slipping just slightly. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she straightened her posture. "We cater to a very specific clientele here," she said, her words slow and deliberate. "Are you shopping for yourself?" Basketball legend nodded. "Yes, I am." The response clearly caught Elena off guard, though she recovered quickly. Her voice hardened ever so slightly. "Most of our inventory requires pre-qualification," Elena said, her tone sharpening. "Perhaps I can direct you to something more practical." Basketball legend's faint smile remained, her calm expression unchanging as she studied Elena's face. She allowed a moment of silence to stretch between them before speaking. "I appreciate the advice," basketball legend said, her voice calm but firm, "but I'll decide what I'm looking for." The confident tone in basketball legend's voice caused Elena's brows to twitch upward briefly, though she quickly hid her reaction. Behind the manager, the employees near the desk exchanged glances once again, their discomfort growing as the interaction unfolded. Basketball legend stood beside the sleek silver coupe, her calm gaze fixed on Elena. The polished surface of the car reflected the tension in the room. Employees nearby pretended to focus on their work, but occasionally glanced in their direction, curiosity evident. Elena's smile tightened as she adjusted the clipboard in her hand. Her tone grew colder, a hint of condescension creeping into her voice.
let me guess.
Elena said, tilting her head slightly. "You saw one of these online and thought, why not? Let me save you the daydream. These cars cost more than you'll make in a decade." Basketball legend raised an eyebrow, her expression calm but her eyes sharp. Funny, she said, her tone steady. I thought salespeople were supposed to sell, not insult. Elena's nostrils flared briefly, but she quickly masked it with a short, dry laugh. I'm just being honest, Elena replied. I've been doing this a long time. I can tell when someone's out of their depth. Basketball legend folded her arms, her gaze unwavering. Out of my depth? She repeated, her voice low and deliberate. That's quite the assumption. The nearby employees froze, their attention now fully on the unfolding confrontation. The soft hum of the air conditioning seemed louder than the whispered tension. Elena took a small step closer, her polished heels clicking against the tile. Look, she said, her voice softening slightly, though the edge remained. I'm trying to help you here. Most of our customers come in pre-qualified. I don't want to waste your time or mine. Basketball legend remained still, letting the silence stretch between them. Then she smiled faintly, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with Elena's growing frustration. I appreciate your concern, Basketball legend said, her voice even. But how about this? Instead of deciding for me, why don't you show me something that fits what you think I'm looking for? Elena blinked, momentarily thrown off by Basketball legend's directness. She squared her shoulders and took a deep breath. Fine, Elena said curtly. I'll put together a list of options. She turned on her heel and walked briskly toward her office, her steps sharp and deliberate. As she disappeared, Basketball legend turned her attention back to the coupe, her reflection once again staring back at her. Behind her, the employees resumed their hushed murmurs. She's pushing Elena's buttons, one of them whispered. This is going to blow up, another replied. Basketball legend glanced toward the desk, her faint smile returning. The test was far from over, and she was just getting started. Basketball legend stood in the showroom, her calm expression unwavering as Elena returned, clipboard in hand. The manager's brisk stride and tightly controlled smile betrayed her irritation. I've put together a list of vehicles that might suit your needs, Elena announced, handing Basketball legend a printout. Basketball legend unfolded the paper, her eyes scanning the list: a used sedan, an older SUV, and a compact hybrid, all priced well below the dealership's typical offerings. She folded the paper neatly and tucked it into her pocket, her lips twitching in faint amusement. Appreciate the effort, Basketball legend said, her tone even. Elena raised an eyebrow, momentarily disarmed by Basketball legend's calm response, but she quickly recovered, her hands resting on her hips. I'm just trying to be realistic with you, Elena said, her voice dropping slightly as if sharing a secret. Luxury Motors isn't for everyone. I don't want to waste your time. Basketball legend met her gaze, her expression unreadable. And what makes you think I don't belong here? Elena hesitated for a fraction of a second before responding. I've been doing this for years, she said, her tone growing defensive. I can tell when someone's out of their depth. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Basketball legend's composure didn't falter, but there was a noticeable shift in her tone. Out of my depth, she repeated softly. That's an interesting observation. For the first time, Elena seemed unsure of herself. Her clipboard, usually a symbol of authority, now felt like a shield. I'm just being honest, Elena added quickly. It's better to be upfront than have someone leave disappointed. Basketball legend let out a soft chuckle, shaking her head slightly. Honesty is important, she agreed, her voice steady. How about this? You let me speak to the owner. Think we can make that happen? Elena's eyebrows shot up, the question clearly catching her off guard. The owner, she echoed. That's not possible today. The owner doesn't just drop by for casual visits. They're a very busy person. Basketball legend nodded slightly, as if considering the explanation. I'm sure they are, she said. But maybe you could give them a call. Let them know I'm here. I think they'd want to meet me. Elena's smile tightened, her frustration bubbling to the surface. Look, ma'am, she said, her tone firmer now. I'm trying to be as polite as possible, but this is getting ridiculous. I have other customers to attend to. If you're serious about buying a car, we can schedule a meeting with one of our consultants. Otherwise, she paused, her words heavy with implication. Otherwise, what? Basketball legend asked, her voice still calm but now carrying an unmistakable edge. Elena narrowed her eyes, her frustration boiling over. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The silence that followed was deafening. The employees around them froze, their attention locked on the confrontation. Even the soft hum of the air conditioning seemed muted in comparison to the tension in the room. Basketball legend didn't move. She held Elena's gaze, her calm demeanor unshaken by the manager's authoritative stance. Slowly she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. "All right," Basketball legend said, scrolling through her contacts. "I'll make the call myself." Elena blinked, her confusion giving way to a flicker of panic. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Just calling the owner," Basketball legend replied, lifting the phone to her ear. "Shouldn't take long." The employees exchanged glances, their curiosity growing. Elena opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Around them the tension was palpable, pressing down on everyone in the room. Basketball legend held up a finger, signaling for silence as she turned slightly away. "Yeah, it's me," she said, into the phone. "I'm at the dealership, just a little misunderstanding. Could you let them know I'm here?" She ended the call and slipped the phone back into her pocket, turning back to Elena with a faint smile. "They'll be here shortly," Basketball legend said simply. Elena stared at her, her composure beginning to crack. Who did you just call?" Basketball legend didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced around the showroom, her gaze lingering on the employees who had all stopped what they were doing to watch. "Guess we'll find out," she said, her tone almost playful. The tension in the showroom was thick, as the sound of the main doors opening caught everyone's attention. A sharply dressed man entered, his tailored navy suit and polished shoes exuding authority. His serious expression softened as his eyes landed on Basketball legend. "Oh, Miss Basketball legend," he said warmly, striding toward her and extending a hand. "So good to see you." Basketball legend returned his handshake with a firm grip, her calm smile hinting at the authority she hadn't yet revealed. "Thanks for coming, Vincent," she said. "I think it's time we had a little chat with the team." Behind them, the employees froze, their gazes darting between Vincent and Basketball legend. Whispers broke out among the staff, panic creeping into their voices. "Oh God," I laughed when she walked in, one murmured, his face paling. "You think she's going to fire all of us?" another asked, her voice trembling. Elena emerged from her office, her clipboard clutched tightly in one hand. Her confident stride faltered as she saw Vincent standing beside Basketball legend. "Vincent," Elena began, her voice uncertain. "What's going on?" Vincent turned to her, his tone cool and professional. "Elena, I see you've already met Miss Basketball legend." The clipboard slipped slightly in Elena's grip, her eyes widening. "Miss Basketball legend," she echoed, the realization dawning on her. Vincent nodded, his gaze steady. "She's the new owner of this dealership." A collective gasp spread through the room. Elena's face turned pale, and she took an involuntary step back.
Father.
"The owner," she stammered. Basketball legend's calm expression didn't waver. She looked at Elena, her voice steady, but carrying undeniable authority. "I came here today to see how things are really run," Basketball legend said. "I wanted to understand what kind of culture I inherited." Elena opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Vincent stepped forward, addressing the room. "Miss Basketball legend doesn't tolerate hypocrisy," he said firmly, "but she believes in second chances. This is an opportunity to prove you can do better." Basketball legend nodded subtly, her gaze sweeping over the employees. "This isn't just about one person's actions," Basketball legend said. "It's about the culture as a whole. Every single one of you plays a role in how this dealership operates. The question is, are you willing to change?" The silence in the room was deafening. Employees avoided Basketball legend's gaze, their guilt visible in their tense postures. Finally, Elena broke the silence, her voice trembling. "Miss Basketball legend, I didn't realize that I could own a place like this." Basketball legend interjected, her tone calm but cutting. "Or that someone like me might actually belong here." Elena's face flushed, and she lowered her head. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Basketball legend's expression softened slightly. "We'll address this in the meeting," she said, her voice firm. "But first, let's gather everyone in the conference room. It's time for some changes." The employees filed into the conference room, the tension palpable. Glass walls surrounded the space, giving a sense of openness that felt anything but liberating. The team, usually confident and composed, now sat stiffly in their chairs, avoiding eye contact. Elena took a seat near the back, her clipboard resting on the table like a shield. Basketball Legend stood at the head of the table, her calm presence commanding attention. She surveyed the room for a moment, letting the silence work its way into their minds. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady and clear. "Thank you all for coming," Basketball Legend began. "As you know, my name is Basketball Legend, and I'm the new owner of Luxury Motors. Today's events have given me a lot to think about, and I want to share some of those thoughts with you." She paused, letting her gaze move across the room. Some employees looked down at the table. Others fidgeted nervously. "This dealership has built a reputation for excellence," Basketball Legend continued. "But excellence isn't just about the cars we sell. It's about the experiences we create for our customers. It's about how we treat people, no matter who they are or what they look like." Elena shifted uncomfortably, her confident facade slipping further. Basketball Legend's eyes lingered on her briefly before returning to the group. From the middle of the table, Chris raised a hesitant hand. Basketball Legend nodded, inviting him to speak. "Miss Basketball Legend," Chris began, his voice wavering slightly. "I tried to help a customer last month, but Elena told me they reeked of desperation. I didn't stop her." The room fell into a heavy silence. All eyes turned to Chris, whose cheeks flushed as he looked down at the table. Basketball Legend tilted her head slightly, her expression calm but firm. "Why didn't you stop her?" she asked gently. Chris hesitated. "I needed this job," he admitted quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Basketball Legend studied him for a moment, her expression softening. "And now you have a chance to earn it," she said. Chris looked up, surprise flickering across his face. He gave a small nod, relief mingling with determination. Basketball Legend turned her attention back to the group, her tone growing more resolute. "This isn't just about one person's actions," she said. "It's about the choices we all make. Complicity can be just as harmful as the actions themselves. We all have a responsibility to do better." Her gaze landed on Elena, who sat stiffly in her chair, her knuckles white as she gripped her clipboard. "Elena," Basketball Legend said, her voice soft but firm, "would you like to say anything?" Elena swallowed hard, her face flushed. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled. "Oh, I made a mistake," she admitted. "I let my biases get in the way, and I hurt people because of it."
"I'm sorry."
Basketball Legend nodded, slightly. "Acknowledging the problem is the first step," she said. "But accountability means taking real steps to change. Are you willing to do that?" Elena hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes," she said quietly. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Oh, Basketball Legend's expression softened just enough to show understanding. She turned back to the group, her voice strong once again. "We're going to create a culture of respect and inclusivity here," Basketball Legend said. "This isn't just about me or Elena. It's about all of us. Every person who walks through our doors deserves to feel valued. No exceptions." She straightened, her voice growing more resolute. "Starting today, we'll be implementing new training programs to ensure these values are at the core of everything we do." Basketball Legend continued. "Change isn't easy, but it's necessary. And it starts with us." The room remained silent as her words hung in the air. Slowly, the tension began to lift, replaced by a sense of determination.
"Oh, finally."
Basketball Legend nodded. "Let's lead by example," she said, "because that's what true excellence looks like." As the meeting concluded, the employees began to file out of the conference room, their expressions ranging from thoughtful to uneasy. Basketball Legend remained at the head of the table, her hands resting lightly on its edge, her gaze steady as she watched them leave. Elena lingered near the back, her usual air of confidence replaced by a hesitant stillness. She clutched her clipboard tightly, as though it could somehow shield her from the weight of the moment. Finally, she stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate, as if approaching a precipice. "Miss Basketball Legend," Elena began, her voice low and tentative. I want to thank you for giving me a chance to do better." Basketball Legend turned her attention fully to Elena, studying her carefully. "The four is beautiful whereas Edo was said. The Spang 7 near to beld." There was no malice in her gaze, but her expression was unreadable, her calm authority making it clear that this was a moment of accountability. Elena, basketball legend, said, her voice steady but firm. I hope you mean that, because actions speak louder than words. What happened today can't happen again. Not here, not anywhere. Elena nodded quickly, her face flushed. It won't, she said earnestly. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Basketball legend leaned back slightly, her gaze unwavering. Good, she replied. Oh, because accountability isn't just about apologizing. It's about taking real steps to change. That starts with you. Elena's hands tightened around the edges of her clipboard, but she didn't flinch. I understand, she said quietly. I was wrong. And I'll prove that I can be better. Basketball legend nodded slowly, her expression softening just enough to convey a measure of understanding. I'll believe people can change if they're willing to try, she said, but trust has to be earned. I'll be meeting with you one-on-one to discuss next steps. For now, focus on leading by example. Elena's shoulders relaxed slightly, and she nodded again, her voice steadier this time. Thank you, she said, her words carrying a sincerity that hadn't been there before. Basketball legend watched her for a moment longer, then gave a faint smile. This is a chance to turn things around, Elena. Oh, don't waste it. Elena hesitated, then offered a small, grateful smile before turning and leaving the room. Basketball legend remained standing, her gaze following Elena as she disappeared into the corridor. She exhaled softly, her thoughts already shifting to the challenges ahead. Change wasn't easy, but she knew it was necessary, and she was ready to lead by example. The changes at Luxury Motors were subtle at first, but unmistakable. Employees began greeting customers with genuine warmth, and the atmosphere grew noticeably more welcoming. Basketball legend, observing quietly, could see the seeds of progress taking root. One afternoon, she entered the showroom to see Elena interacting with a young man dressed casually in a hoodie and jeans. The man looked nervous as he approached a row of cars, but Elena stepped forward, her smile hesitant but sincere. Welcome to Luxury Motors, Elena said, her voice steady but carrying a hint of strain. How can I assist you today? The young man raised an eyebrow, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. Assist me? You sound like you've never said that before. Elena froze for a split second, then let out a short, self-conscious laugh. I guess I haven't, she admitted, but I'm learning. Basketball legend watched the exchange from a distance, a faint smile on her lips. She could see Elena's discomfort, but she also saw the effort she was making. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The young man nodded, his smirk softening. Well, I appreciate it, he said. I'm looking for something reliable, maybe a hybrid. Elena straightened, a spark of confidence returning to her voice. We have a few excellent options, she said. Let me show you around. As the two moved through the showroom, basketball legend turned her attention to Chris, who was chatting with an older couple near the entrance. His enthusiasm and genuine warmth were evident as he explained the features of a luxury sedan. Basketball legend felt a flicker of satisfaction. The dealership was beginning to embody the values she had envisioned: respect, inclusivity, and fairness. There was still work to be done, but the team was moving in the right direction. Later, Elena approached basketball legend hesitantly, her hands clasped in front of her. Miss Basketball Legend, she began, her voice quiet. I just wanted to say, thank you for giving me a second chance. Basketball Legend nodded, her expression thoughtful. You've earned it, she said simply. Keep it up. Elena smiled faintly, a mix of gratitude and determination in her eyes. The week after her visit, Basketball Legend called a meeting in the conference room. The employees filed in quietly, their expressions a mix of curiosity and determination. Elena was among them, sitting near the back, her usual air of authority tempered by humility. Basketball Legend stood at the head of the table, calm demeanor commanding attention. She let the room settle before speaking. Thank you all for being here, Basketball Legend began, her voice steady and clear. Today I want to talk about where we go from here and why it matters. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room. Luxury Motors has always been known for excellence. But excellence isn't just about the cars we sell. It's about the people who walk through our doors. It's about respect. The room was silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Basketball Legend took a step forward, her expression thoughtful. I want to share something personal with you, she said. 10 years ago, I walked into a dealership like this one. I was looking for my first car after landing my first big client. I was excited, proud, ready to invest in something I'd worked hard for. She paused, her voice softening, but the manager there took one look at me and said, "Stick to buses. You can't afford anything here." A ripple of shock moved through the room. Chris leaned forward slightly, his brow furrowed, while Elena's face flushed as she lowered her gaze. That moment stuck with me. Basketball legend continued, not because of the insult, but because it motivated me. It reminded me to see potential, not just paychecks. Today I own 12 dealerships, and I hire people who value character over appearances. Her words lingered, the room completely still. I'm sharing this because I want you to understand something important. Basketball legend said, her voice growing stronger. The culture we create here matters. How we treat people matters. Every person who walks through these doors deserves to be respected. She turned her attention to Elena, who looked up hesitantly. Elena, basketball legend said gently, "You've shown me that you're willing to learn, and I respect that. But accountability means more than an apology. It means action." Elena nodded slowly. "I understand," she said softly. "Thank you for giving me the chance to do better." Basketball legend nodded in return before addressing the group again. Moving forward, we'll focus on building a culture that reflects these values. Basketball legend said, respect, inclusivity, and fairness will guide everything we do. That's how we'll define excellence. The employees exchanged glances, their postures straightening as basketball legend's words inspired a sense of purpose. Let's lead by example. Basketball legend concluded, her tone resolute. Because when we do, we don't just sell cars, we change lives. A few weeks later, Luxury Motors had transformed. The once cold atmosphere was now warm and inviting, with employees engaging genuinely with customers. Basketball legend walked through the showroom one afternoon, her steps deliberate as she observed the changes taking place. She passed by Chris, who was enthusiastically explaining the features of a hybrid sedan to a young family. His confidence and warmth were evident, and the family's smiles reflected their comfort. Basketball legend nodded to herself, pleased with his progress. Near the entrance, Elena was greeting a casually dressed customer. Basketball legend paused, watching the interaction unfold. "Welcome to Luxury Motors," Elena said, her voice steady but noticeably sincere. "How can I assist you today?" The customer glanced around, their tone skeptical. "Are you sure I'm in the right place? These cars look out of my league." Elena shook her head, her smile genuine. "You're absolutely in the right place. Let me show you some options. We have something for everyone." The customer hesitated, then smiled, following her toward a display. Basketball legend's faint smile grew as she approached Elena, who turned back and spotted her. "Miss Basketball Legend," Elena said, a mix of respect and gratitude in her tone. "I hope I'm meeting your expectations." Basketball legend nodded. "You're doing great, Elena," she said. "Keep leading by example." Elena's face lit up with pride and she returned to her customer with renewed confidence. Basketball legend turned and walked toward the exit, pausing briefly near the silver coupe that had caught her eye during her first visit. Her reflection in the car's polished surface mirrored her own transformation as a leader. As she stepped outside, Vincent approached, a knowing grin on his face. "Looking good in there, boss," he said. Basketball legend glanced back at the bustling showroom, her expression calm but satisfied. "It's a start," she replied. "We're building something better together." With that, she walked toward her car, her steps light with optimism. Luxury Motors wasn't just a dealership anymore. It was becoming a place where respect and integrity thrived.